Larry and I would be happy to give you an hour on jazz. We were just working on that in the green room, but oh, you probably aren't here to listen to us opine about our favorite jazz musicians. Larry, here's what I do want to opine on.
Okay.
I'm expecting about 140 days of turmoil. It's 40 days until January 20th, then 100 days, the first 100 days of the administration, lots of executive orders, lots of bills being proposed, appointments confirmed, international negotiations on everything from immigration to tariffs. And we've seen all of this before. We've seen the turmoil during Trump years. But this time he's coming loaded for bear. His teams are going to be ready to go, loaded up. And then we have Doge on top of it all. What do you expect in the next
I'm
150 days?
very, I'm relatively optimistic. It's very hard to be optimistic about a new administration given the history. However, I'm very optimistic about this administration. I think they've done a huge amount of work. I mean, it has been so impressive, the rate and the cadence of their announcements and appointments. Now, some of the announcements and appointments have met with a little bit of, controversy, I guess you could say. But I mean, they're all Trump focused. They're all Trump approved appointments. These are not appointments that were made because he said, "Oh, what do I do now?"
Yes, yes,
Who,
yeah.
no idea who the 6,000 people that he had to appoint, no idea where he would get them from. And and this time there was a very, very well structured process to find and appoint those people who he personally approved of. I'm assuming he personally approved them, and
Right.
I'm very certain of my presumptions here. So so that's been impressive.
Yeah.
And given that, I think that the first 3 months are going to be bound up with the negotiations with Congress. First of all, they have to re-up the debt ceiling.
Right.
Secondly, they have a budget to pass, and it's obviously not going to pass before January 20th. There's the issue of extending the debt. So the debt ceiling
Mhm.
extension and then the passing of the budget, all of this is critical and is going to take a lot of oxygen out of the air. In the meantime, the Senate has to approve all of these appointments, and there are one or two that are going to be very sticky, or two or four that are going to be very sticky. Some are going to be less sticky, but still going to require a lot of backwards and forwards. So it's going to be a hyper busy 3 to 6 months. He needs to come out of that with a win. He needs to get a win on the debt ceiling. He needs to get a win on the budget. Now, if he's able to do that and set a pattern, set a policy and move that policy forward, that would be great. The two great overhanging issues are the remaining wars,
Mhm.
the war in Israel
Right.
and the war in Russia. And Syria may be the spark that, blows all those wars up. It's more than possible. Who expected this thing to happen in Syria?
Yeah.
And to what extent is this thing happening in Syria because of his election?
Right.
I know that's a stretch for some people, but clearly the Turks have been preparing this for a while.
Mhm.
Clearly they've armed these people extremely well. The organization's been very good, and they detected the withdrawal of the Russians and the hollowing out of the Russian forces. So talk about execution. Oh my word. And one can't admire them because, they are, ISIS evolved. They're an ISIS evolved group. So one has to be very cautious about that. But some of the early signs are pretty good in terms of their reorientation and so who knows? One thing's for sure, this is a very bad sign for continued Iran power.
Right.
So all of these indicates that the opportunities for a great Trump start are good. This may be bad news for some of our work colleagues. It may be very good news for those who support Trump, but anything can happen. I don't know if that answered your question. I don't even know what your question was.
My original question was whether it's going to be chaotic, and I think this is one of the things that a lot of people that were, let's call it, in the middle didn't like about Trump was all the chaos.
Chaos.
And I do think that there are times when there needs to be chaos. It's kind of like there's time when you need to have surgery, and then after the surgery, you're better. And so I think that it's going to be chaotic. Now, maybe the mainstream media will make more of the chaos than they need to, that they'll blow it up out of proportion in order to make Trump look bad. But I still think there'll be a lot of stuff up in the air,
Yeah.
which could, and I bring it up partially because there's a channel about the macro, it's about the stock
Yeah.
market. Sometimes when there's chaos, that's when the VIX goes up, and when the folks on Wall Street are like, oh, maybe I should back off just a little bit. So I think people should be prepared that is at least a possibility during this 150 days, is that there could be a point at which people are just nervous that there's too much uncertainty.
One of the overriding features of this new administration is going to be, this is really a second term.
Right.
Second terms are invariably not a good situation for the president. This time is different, though. He has nothing to lose, nothing at all to lose. My wife was talking to me a little bit earlier today, worried about his attitude towards immigrants. We're immigrants, and she was saying, they're talking about, whether, people who immigrated, and I said, look, you got to understand, Trump is a negotiator. He puts he puts the strongest possible position on the table to, put his opponent off balance.
Right.
I think he's going to be comfortable with DACA. I think the dreamers he's going to give them, as long as he gets what he's asking for on immigration, as long as he gets, an end to this open border, as long as he gets, a deportation order against all of these people who come in with a criminal record or who have committed criminal acts.
Right.
And then the issue of the deportation of those who are not criminal, but who have crossed the border, which is a criminal act, actually.
Right. Right.
So actually, but then the issue of opening the border to people who go through the process, not the southern border necessarily, but the standard borders to people who go through the proper process. So seek asylum in a foreign land, go through the H-1B visa, go through the normal visa application, and hopefully he even opens visas to, people. Right now, it's open to people who will invest $2 million in the country. I think he should open it to people who are prepared to pay $1 million plus invest $1 million. I think it's a great opportunity to bring in 100,000 people at $1 million each. I mean, we're talking real money. And those people who do come in are coming in with capital and with, education. I mean, they would have to be educated. They would have to have certain, limits. Anyway, that's just my favorite thing. So long answer, drifting off the subject as usual, but in general, I think, yes, there's going to be chaos, But is the chaos going to be good? I'm aligned with you. I think it's going to be good.
Okay. Switching subjects. I did a video the other day where I said that Elon Musk says that Optimus is going to make the company worth 25 trillion. And Kathy says that Robotaxi is going to make the company worth 7 trillion. And Elon commented that she has the best analysis. Now, from there, you get to a $32 trillion valuation, or just almost exactly $10,000 per share. And Kathy says that this is her value is by 2029. Elon didn't put a date on his 25 trillion. But even if it was 2034, that would be pretty amazing. So I threw that up, and a couple of critics says, Randy, it's just clickbait. Larry, I used Elon Musk and Kathy Wood as my sources, but now I'm going to turn to you. You're more conservative than they are, but you love Larry, you love Kathy, you love Elon. Do you think that this $10,000 share valuation is in the realm of reality, or is this really a stretch?
No, I think it's within the realm of I think it's, there is a reasonable there is a reasonable potential for that kind of outcome. I think that the law of large numbers and the law of competition probably will militate against getting to the 10,000 mark. I don't think it matters. Are you going to discount $10,000 or $5,000? I mean, really speaking, the stock is going to go quite a bit higher than it is now.
Okay.
Quite a bit higher. And when I say that, I'm talking about a multiple of where it is now.
Right.
And is it going to be 29? Is it going to be 28? Is it going to be 30? I don't think it much matters. For a 78-year-old like me, maybe it matters. But I don't think it makes any difference to my children or my grandchildren. I think they'll all do well.
How many yachts can they buy, Larry?
They're not the yacht type, I will tell you that. None of them are. They're all modest people, like myself. They're not looking to spend fortunes of money. I think they will do good with whatever they get, they will do good with it.
Okay.
And they'll get whatever they get.
Sure.
That's it.
Sure, that's right. Well, Gary Black actually raised his price target today.
Yes, I saw that.
That was almost as surprising as some of the other price targets that have been raised. He did it in the way he normally does. He said, okay, here's my spreadsheet. Here's where I see the earnings being higher than I thought they were going to be. He's not really giving anything to Robotaxi at all. I mean, not really.
Or Optimus.
Zero for Optimus, and only a couple of bucks for Robotaxi.
Very few bucks. Very few bucks.
Very few. So, but I think,
and not really for Robotaxi. I think he's just looking at FSD revenue.
right,
Increase
from wherever it comes.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, because he's more interested, quite frankly, in people licensing it. He seems to be more interested in licenses than he is in the actual product.
I honestly follow Gary Black because I like to hear his analysis, because that's the analysis that Wall Street are going to do. He is the prototypical portfolio manager, and he speaks Wall Street's language. They understand him. I do too. I can certainly respect his perspective and point of view, and he's a good friend. So, do I subscribe to his perspective? No. Do I agree with his numbers? No. But it's a really good indicator of what Wall Street are prepared to place in terms of value on the stock. In fact, he's probably quite a bit more bullish than most Wall Street analysts. So I kind of discount what he says by a bit. But at this point, he's not behind them. He may be along with them or even a little bit ahead of them. But look, Bank of America came out with 380,
Right.
and so he's right there with them.
Actually, Bank of America was 400.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. They came out with 400, so they're a little bit ahead of him, and that's fine. It's all about the same price, and it's all the price that there is now.
Right. Yes.
So they're justifying the current price, and it's his fifth largest holding. It he's not crazy about Tesla because he doesn't really believe in the thesis.
Right. Right.
He's
Exactly.
looking at the car company. He's adding some energy. Look, he didn't add energy until about less than a year ago, I think. I may be wrong on my dates, but he didn't add energy until very late, until it was absolutely on the books. And boy, by the way, it hasn't really hit the books yet.
Not yet.
There's a
Not
lot
like
to
it's going
come.
to.
There's a lot to come. So, what do I think? I think it's good. I think he's giving us a strong hint that Wall Street are buying in, which means that there's less downside risk.
Mhm.
There's still downside risk. I mean, it can go back to 200 in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
So I argued this morning, Larry, that it could go back to 300 in a heartbeat, but the likelihood of going to 200 was almost zero now with energy.
I don't think it's almost zero. I think there's a non-zero chance, a significant chance that it can go back to 200 if
The macro collapse.
if the macro really hurts badly. Look, a lot of auto companies are going to go insolvent in the next couple of years. Auto is going to get a really bad name, really bad name. I mean, if we were buying auto in Europe today, we would be looking for 3 times earnings.
Yeah.
4 times earnings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I know you're loath to commit to short-term price targets, but now that we have a bunch of new price targets out there that are primarily in the 360 to 400 range, but some 500. One of your buddies, one of your favorites, Dan Ives, is at 600, even though it's not official. I wish he'd make it official.
Yeah.
He threw it out there. Come on, Dan, make it official.
Hard for him to make it official.
So where would you, and I'm at 700 and Brian Wong is at 1,000. Where are you thinking for the end of next year?
Around those numbers.
Around those numbers. Okay, 400 to 1,000.
In that ballpark. I mean, so much depends on the macro.
Okay.
And then, we're going to go through a period of deep uncertainty. I will say that I'm very encouraged by what the market did during Trump's first term. I can't forget those early days. I mean, I was just blown away. So it could be we're in for happy days, but there's a lot of uncertainty abounding. The question of how he and the Federal Reserve will interact, what the economic policy is going to be. The market is in such bad shape from the perspective of new issues.
Yeah.
And that really means that there's something wrong in the state, there's something wrong in the state of the market. And so a lot of risk, a lot of opportunity. The range of Tesla stock could be very wide, between 200 and 1,000 in the coming year. And the problem is Tesla investors get a little bit over their skis. They start borrowing money. Please, everybody, this is investment advice. Do not buy shares on margin. You want to sue me? Sue me. Do not buy shares on margin. This is investment advice. Everybody says they're not giving investment advice. I'm giving.
You are, yes. I agree with you, by the way.
Do not buy shares on margin. And if you buy shares, if you buy options, you better damn well know what you're doing, because you can get into serious trouble in buying options.
My recommendation to this crowd, because I don't think most of them are worth millions. I'm sure we have many people who are worth a million or so, but I don't think most of the folks here are worth millions. That if you're going to play the options market and you want to diddle around with it, only invest what you would invest in Vegas. If you would invest $1,000 in a weekend in Vegas, invest 1,000 in options, give it a try, see what happens.
Randy, I have so many friends who around about the time of the rodeo, of the Giga Texas rodeo,
Yeah,
had millions and millions. I'm talking 5 million, 10 million, 20 million,
yeah.
and
Pretty
now have nothing.
have nothing. Yeah.
One particular individual who won't be named
Yes.
had over 30 million.
Mm.
Today owes the Internal Revenue Service a bunch of money.
Oh, man.
So all I'm trying to say, and you know what? I warned everybody at that time, do not buy on, get out of your margin, get out of your margin, get out of your margin.
There you go.
And then I had, a friend of mine had like 20, $30 million worth of Tesla stock. And they had a small margin position, like 4 or 5, in their words, 4 or 5 million, just
Yeah, margin.
buy a house to live on, blah, blah, blah. I said, get out of the margin, get out of the margin. Well, ultimately, he did cost him a lot of money. I mean, he's still fine.
Mhm.
But all I'm trying to say is that, well, I've probably spoken enough.
No, I think this is good. We should be saying it every show. So, with my view on next year, as you know, is 700, but my view is 700 plus, and that's
Mhm.
all around robotaxis. So my sense is that the 700 to me is just the cars and the energy storage and the miscellaneous businesses and just the regular growth, everything's going to be fine in all those areas. Even if it's still not the perfect year this year, we'll get the 20 to 30% growth and 100% growth in energy. But that if robotaxi does come out this summer, or when it comes out this summer, and there is a business model that can be constructed around it,
Right.
that's where we're looking at the plus 700. Could be 1,000. Who knows?
Yeah. And look, Tesla is always late. It's always late. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
So if Tesla are late, everything we've talked about
Mhm.
could go to hell in a handbasket.
Mhm.
By mid-year, we could be back down to, you say 300, I say 200, whatever. While, Tesla are scrambling to get their ducks in a row and to get the process going, and Elon could come in and fire 20% of the staff again. They're going to get to that point that you're talking about.
Right, right.
I just don't know what date they're going to get to
Exactly.
that point. And it may be the end of the year. It may be the following year.
Right, right.
And there are so many tripwires, so many, landmines with tripwires that run in every direction on the way there. Tesla's not going to go to zero. Tesla Q are wrong. Tesla's going to do fine. The market in Europe's going to be fine. The market in China and the relationship with China is going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. I just don't know when
Yes.
these different breakthroughs will occur.
Right.
I do know this. Robotaxi is definitely coming. The Tesla Q car is coming. I love that. The semi is coming.
Yes.
Energy is booming through the roof. And hanging out there is Optimus.
Right.
So you're absolutely right that it's going to be through the roof. And whether it's 700, 1,000, 2,000, or 10,000, I don't know. But I'm very happy with where we are.
So you were also saying that you were happy before we went on air. You were saying you were happy with the price action today. You were surprised that the stock held up as well as it did. Tell me about your thinking about the big
Yeah.
section.
I don't follow the stock from day to day. As you know, you sometimes surprise me with what happened during the day. But when there's a run up the way there has been, there's generally a pullback. And we saw signs of a potential pullback during the day. It ended down. I was watching it for the first time in a long time. I was watching the daily action. Thought to myself, this stock can dive 10, 20, 30 points by the end of trading. In that last few minutes, it can go down 10, 20, 30. It went up, which,
Back to green
yeah,
and
back to
continued
green.
higher in the after hours.
I know. And so, maybe there's still some shorts hanging out there. Maybe Bill Gates is finally, throwing in the towel. I wonder how he's managed to keep that short for so long. It stuns me. Anyway, we don't know that he's still short. But yeah, I mean, there's strong action behind the stock. And, I'd be very interested to see Troy's next projection of sales to see whether sales have picked up at all in Germany and in the US. So
Well,
I just don't think it's short-term action. I think it's a longer-term projection. I think people are finally getting religion.
well, you mentioned Troy, and that was going to be my next question, of course, because you usually play the game. And I know it's early days, it's only the 9th, and you've got a couple of weeks yet before you need to give your real number. But do you think that we are in the ballpark of getting to 515, or do you think it's more closer to the streets numbers of 396 or something? Sorry, 496.
190, yeah. I think we're over 500.
Okay.
I think we're over 500 because I think the street and Troy are not really anticipating the impact of this new leasing arrangement.
Oh, okay.
I think this is going to have an impact. I'm very disappointed that that we don't see pickup in European sales.
Yeah.
But China sales have been good, and I'm thinking that there's been a pickup in US sales, and I think that's going to sway the difference. So I'm a little bit over 500 at this point, but I don't do the kind of numeric the actual calculations that they do. I go off a trend and I look at trends in these different markets
Mhm.
and come up with estimates. I'm about as accurate as they are.
I know.
I mean, you're used to doing this. You used to do this for your own business, right?
Oh my goodness, you did too, I'm sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd spend hours and hours and hours going over month by month estimates, customer by customer, product by product estimates. And I would estimate in every year, because I'm an optimist, I would always be. So I would never make my numbers. So yeah, I understand how to do it. But I did it for a while here, on with Tesla, and I just decided, I'm not going to go to the work that these other guys are going to do to get to these numbers. And so I'll go with their numbers because I just don't see how I'm going to have a better number than they can have.
Well, AJ has been pretty good. I guess he was out last quarter, right? And
Everybody was out. Everybody's out the first quarter and the third quarter. Missed it badly both times.
yeah,
Be interested to see what happens with the fourth quarter. We saw an Optimus video earlier today, Larry. I'm not going to run it now. Everybody has to have seen it by now. It's been everywhere. Where we saw Optimus stumbling down a hillside. We saw Optimus walking up and down the hillside. And I was extremely impressed. And it was obviously that it's not teleoperated. This was completely autonomous.
you wouldn't be able to operate that teleoperator.
No, you can't do that. And then just before I came on air, I'm just doing a couple of quick minutes of research, and I see this they don't call it a tweet anymore. This post from on X by Elon saying, "Oh, by the way, the Optimus that you were watching was blind. they weren't the cameras weren't connected to the neural operation system or whatever, to the chip.
Neural net, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy, Larry, that Optimus was able to do that without vision.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed. People have told me, experts have told me that Optimus won't be able to walk down steps. So to me, the most important part of this video today was it looked to me like Optimus may well be able to walk down steps.
If it can walk down those hillsides, I think it can handle steps.
There may be some differences. I'm not an expert in the field, but
Me
real experts have
Huh,
told me that Optimus is unable to walk down steps has to do with how the waste is engineered.
I see.
But what I saw today, it looked too agile
Yeah,
in the process of coming down that slope uh, to not be able to step down a step.
I would think. And then the other part about it was, I guess, the feet, especially if it was blind, the feet are basically doing all the work. So,
Amazing,
so
just amazing.
somehow those feet, each time the foot hits the ground, is able to give enough information to that chip to be able to make decisions about balance, decisions about where the next foot's going to go. I mean, holy mackerel, I mean, to me, that's extremely impressive. And
Yeah.
I turn that around and I start thinking about the kinds of things to do with the hands. We know that we have hands right now out there, robotic hands that are doing surgery. They're not attached to a humanoid. They're separate robotic hands that are
Be
doing surgery.
careful about that because those hands are not using fingers designed like a human.
Okay.
They're using a knife attached
Oh,
to,
yeah.
what looks like a dentist, but it's not. It's
Right. Right.
so so it's very different from the hand actually gripping the scalpel and
Hmm.
the hand using the scalpel. I think.
Okay.
What do I know about this stuff? I don't. I mean, but I do know. I mean, I've seen surgeons using, so and there are two different types of, robotic surgery. One where the surgeon actually guides it, and the
Uh-huh.
other where it's totally self-guided.
Hmm.
I, it'd be interesting to get an expert on who does actually
Yeah.
deals with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Find out
Anyway,
what I'm talking about.
yeah. So anyway, I was impressed. I would have thought the stock would have gone up just on the strength of that video. But there was lots of actually, this is one of those days when there was nothing but good news, tons of good news. Deutsche Bank up their estimate. The robot, the Optimus video. There was
Well,
other
Tesla Q, you're forgetting Tesla Q.
and besides Tesla Q, which turns out, of course, that there seems to be a lot of not so. This is a rumor that probably is not well founded. In certainly in terms of the branding. The branding apparently was the branding that Deutsche Bank gave it themselves, not something that
I
Tesla.
like it though.
It's good, huh? Yeah, it's funny. It's humorous.
Didn't Elon say this is very funny? Didn't Elon quip about it?
He was quipping about Q, but I'm not sure he
Yeah,
was. I'm not sure he was talking about the car.
he
He
did.
said
Yeah, but
another.
I mean, why would he quip about Q if he's not intrigued with the idea?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sexy Q. So, Larry, anything else going on with you? Anything new on FSD or anything else that we should talk about before we look at the numbers?
No, all I can say is that I'm so grateful I'm not a Tesla Q.
I'm glad I'm not a Q at all. I've never been able to live on that side of any proposition. I am a contrarian from time to time, but that's different.
Yeah, you are.
All right. Well, what we had today, Larry, was we had the Dow down 240, the Nasdaq down 123, and that surprised me because I thought maybe the equities were kind of waiting to see the CPI on Wednesday. But somewhere along the line today, they decided And basically the only other news today that I saw was China with a new stimulus, which theoretically could help the United States too, because we
Well, China did issue some fairly strong
Yep.
challenges. They're talking about, confronting the US on several issues. Um, I I don't think the news out of China is looking good for us.
Okay, all right. That may be a whole show.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, I'd like to do a little bit more research. But, it's interesting because this president has had a good relationship
Right.
with the Chinese government. And, I think they understand his language a lot better than they understand the Biden language.
Well, there would be the other side of that, right? She would be putting up his own high expectations, his own, high goals, so that he doesn't
Mhm.
come in,
Mhm.
already giving anything away. So I suspect those two will do fine. I don't know, but I'm guessing they'll do fine together. Tesla, up 57 cents in the after hours. The rest of the Magnificent Seven were all over the place with NVIDIA. Speaking of China, NVIDIA down 363 today, back down to 139, based on China saying that they're worried about NVIDIA being a monopoly.
They are.
There is that. And the Kathy Woods were pretty much all down today. Let's see if any of that is changing as the pre-market is coming about. We don't have the bond numbers, of course, yet, but oops, have to get on here. But the bond numbers for the earlier today, the bonds were up also. See, once again, are they anticipating that the CPI is going to be a little too high, a little too hot? And the Fed is not going to raise. I actually think that's where we're going to be. I don't think the Fed is going to lower the interest rates next week.
I think you're right.
Okay. Hey,
You're right.
we agree. All right. Let's see here. We have got up 4.8 basis points on the 10-year today, Larry. So
Oh,
that's a strong move. But we're still at only 4.2. So it's not horrible yet. Um,
that's a big
Oil,
daily increase, though.
yeah, it is. Oil up 0.96, I'm sorry, 96 cents, but still in good shape, 68 cents. They're saying most of that increase was again
68 cents, $68.
68 cents, $68.16 a barrel for a Texas Intermediate.
Yeah.
And the thought is that the China stimulus is the primary reason for this, not the wars. So
Well, the United States did some very heavy bombing this today.
I
Very
saw that.
heavy.
Right. They were theoretically hitting the ISIS targets so that the ISIS guy,
They're also destroying heavy weapons, aircraft, helicopters, heavy weapons owned by this original Syrian armed forces. So
hmm, it'll be, as always, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Not terribly good guys taking over, um, based on their histories, but
I'm hopeful.
yeah,
I'm
you're
hopeful.
okay. All right, okay.
The permanent optimist.
Oh no, we've got two on the
You're
same.
right. Right.
Natural gas up 3.67% to $3.20 in the pre-market right now. Pretty much in the range it's been. Gold, 2-week high. China buying. You and I were talking about this Saturday. China's buying $23.40, but it was even more than that earlier today. 26.83. It was almost to 2700
I love
earlier.
a jump for a day.
Yeah. Do you think gold goes higher at this point?
Depends on the war in the Middle East.
Okay.
The wars
Yeah.
in the Middle East. And it depends on what happens in Ukraine. I thought the meeting with between Trump and Zelensky went very well.
It sounds like it, but now all I heard was Zelensky saying the meeting went very well. Did you hear any more?
Look, Trump went to that meeting with a yellow tie on. That to me is a big signal to Mr. Putin. Big signal.
Tell me, I don't know the yellow tie thing.
Trump went to the meeting with Macron and Zelensky with a blue suit and a yellow tie.
I don't know. What's the yellow tie, Larry?
What is the colors of the Ukraine flag?
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. Huh.
You don't know the colors of the Ukraine flag?
I should. I know it's been up and around, and
Blue and yellow.
I
Two
only
blue stripes, the yellow,
I
uh,
I have
blue, yellow, blue.
I have limited space left, Larry.
Well, it's not something that came into, but it is very much the flag, and it's been very much it's very much the colors that are shown to
Yeah.
indicate support of Ukraine.
Yes, I remember this now. Now that you bring it up.
Red, red, white, and blue is the Russian flag.
Right.
Blue and yellow, a light blue and yellow. And Trump was wearing a light blue suit and a yellow tie.
Interesting.
I mean, you can say what you like.
Oh,
That
no,
is
that's a symbol. That's got to be.
that is a signal, a very
Totally
strong
intentional.
signal. And Zelensky was very happy with the meeting. Macron didn't say anything, and Trump didn't say anything. Zelensky said today that, right now he has to deal with Biden, and while he has to deal with Biden, Trump is not the president yet, so he has to deal with Biden, and he's dealing with Biden.
Right.
That's what he said today.
Got it. Okay. All right. Silver up strongly today, Larry. $2, 2.73%,
Hmm.
at $32.45, getting very close to its recent high of 34.
I don't place a lot of credence in
What silver's doing.
silver does. I'm a gold. I focus on gold and now
Copper
Bitcoin
and copper.
and copper. Copper's, has to do with the macro.
Right. Copper up 1.54% today at 4.261, very much in the high end of the range that
Right.
it's been recently. Dollar edges up, actually. That's interesting. And then you say you're paying attention to Bitcoin. Well, today it took a big dive. Well, it's kind of like Tesla taking a big dive. Down almost 3% right now at 97 again. 97, almost exactly 97,000.
It's pretty range bound right now, and it has been for about a week or so, between 97 and 101.
403, 100, yeah. And then no pre-market yet. What? 3 o'clock? Oh yeah. We're too early, Larry, for the pre-market on the equities. So I wonder where the equities go tomorrow. I thought they would be flat today. So how much is last thought for me today? How much is the market caring right now about interest rates?
That's not their focus right now. That's not their focus. Right now, it's a political moment. It's, the Federal Reserve is not in control. Right now, politics are in control. I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I think that he skips this round, and I think the market doesn't bat an eyelid.
There you go. That's my position. This is so unusual for you and I to be so perfectly aligned.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe we're both completely wrong. They
There's
lowered.
an excellent chance we're both completely wrong.
All right, Larry, as always, we appreciate you coming on and helping us in any way to understand better what the heck is going on, because it is a complex world that we all live in.
And everybody remember, no margin.
No margin. That's right. This is the lesson for today from the wise old guys.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Larry. Thanks again.
Thank you.
To all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.